there, it's Jessica Joy, but this is my story. Solutions. Who are we? We are individuals sharing the reality of pornography's destruction together, creating a nation without exploitation. Who am I? I'm a former youth pastor that once raped. I spiraled into the porn industry. I went to the nation's top faith-based sex trafficking recovery, then on the road as a full-time speaker in 2016. And then I discovered law and legislation October 3rd of 2016 and went full-time into pornography legislation. And now we have pornography legislation in 36 states. We are demanding that tech sell a safe product. It's called product liability. The Consumer Protection Agency, the Naders Raiders took on the car automotive industry. And they said, well, without cars, there'd be no car deaths, because the car automotive industry was like, it's the dummy behind the wheel. Naders Raiders said, no, without cars, there'd be no car deaths. And then from all of that came the Consumer Protection Agency, because people could get away with literally murder. And so now we have a state attorney generals and a general attorney general saying the products should be sold safe. The fact that there's parental controls is admittance to a defective product. Okay, so you're all caught up. I will have another video on how to find the sponsor for this sex education bill. Why it's important. Oh yeah. And what do you do once you download this bill and have the talking points? What do you do? That will be on a separate video. So today we're going to just go over it. Why is this legislation important? Well, let's just be basic here, is that we have over 15 states that have the faith-based, self-asserted ideology being parochialized through our school districts, endorsing, enforcing, and funding the Church of Secular Humanism, religion formed or unformed. It doesn't belong in our schools. Is it natural? Is it neutral? Does it lead to human flourishing? Absolutely not. So if we do not start now, who's going to do this? If not you, who? If not now, when? So today I'm simply reading over the piece of legislation so you understand the vocabulary words and the language that is used, so that we know how to frame this, so that we can define it and separate from it. Because people don't know how to define this. What's going on right now? Is this a religion that's entangled in government? Absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome to this generation of church and state separation. We're taking your religion and we're throwing it out of our government. Bye. And we do tons of litigation, and litigation makes what? Solid legislation. So yeah, all those crazy lawsuits, that's my Facebook followers. Transgender story hours. If we can't have our churches up inside those libraries, neither can you. Yes, you flew the gay flag. The nonconformers had to fund all this stuff, and you lit it up. Yeah, we're funding this. Oh yes, and let's marry a laptop, because that's, yeah, we'll sue the states to do that too. So we're the fun ones. So, reading over this piece of legislation, I'm going to understand why the first part is all definitions. Why? Because our definitions have been hijacked. If we send lawmakers into our state houses and they have a background in basket weaving and cow tipping, then they are not familiar with the law, so lobbyists can get away with telling them anything they want. Okay, so this is definition so that everyone in a hearing is on the same page. So this is a reading of a sex educational bill. In the House of Representatives of West Virginia, by Education Committee, as in bill drafted to fit your state's constitution, assigned a number, sent to a committee, then the chair and vice chair have to request that bill to be heard. Only they have the power for the bills to be heard. So make friends with all of those who are in your family and educational committees. Alabama House Family Committee, and you're going to see a list of them. They're all your best friends. Alabama Senate Family Committee. Oh, it's going to show you education, juvenile, but all of those are your friends for the next 2 years. Yes, all of them are your friends. You're focusing on the chair and the vice chair. Study them, eagle eyes. And that is how you get your bill through, is you find, you don't want the wrong person introducing your bill, but we'll get to that in a different video. So let's go over this. You guys ready? By the Educational Committee, an act relating to sex education, amending the section 33, 16, 111. Okay, so we're talking about your state's constitution. You have the federal constitution and your state's constitution. Be it enacted by the legislator of the state of West Virginia, section 1. Sex education opt-in option. Definitions. Why are we defining things? Why? Because our government got hijacked, and so we have to redefine things. Okay. Definitions. Religion means a set of unproven answers of the greater questions like why are we here and what should we be doing as humans that are predicated on an institutionalized or non-institutionalized faith-based worldview flowing out of community that is full, unorganized, or organized, and has a daily code by which the members may guide their daily lives. Secular definition 2, secular humanism means a faith-based worldview that is also referred to as postmodern, Western, individualistic, moral relativism and expressive individualism, a belief system that is protected by the free exercise clause of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, by the Constitution of the state of West Virginia, and is centered on unproven assumptions that there are no moral absolutes and that no one moral doctrine should be used as superior basis for law and policy, which itself is a doctrine that asserts itself as superior basis of law and policy. The term includes a series of unproven faith-based assumptions and naked assertions that suggest the morality and truth are man-made conventions, and that are the heart of liberty is man's ability to define his own meaning of the universe. The term refers to a religion that does not fulfill any compelling state interest, but instead tends to erode community standards of decency. We say this a lot. Erodes community standards of decency, constituting disfavored speech, sexual orientation mythology, convenience, abortion ideology, and the dogma proselytized as sex education programs are examples of some of the doctrines that are inseparably linked to the religion of secular humanism. At any time, please email me if you want to download this and get this into people's hands. Jessica.joy@thisismystory.solutions, because I'm a solutions person. Next definition is where all of our litigation and all of our legislation is based off of. This is called the Lemon Test. Pay attention. Lemon Test, a three-pronged test invented by the United States Supreme Court in Lemon versus Kurtzman in 1971 to determine whether government action violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. To pass muster under the Establishment Clause, a practice must satisfy the Lemon Test, pursuant to which it must, number one, have a valid secular purpose. For example, water has a valid secular purpose. Man-woman marriage, valid secular purpose. Salt, valid secular purpose. Not have the effect of advancing, endorsing, and inhibiting religion. Well, when you're banning Christian conversion, you're banning Christian conversion in over 20 states. That violates the Establishment Clause. Number two, not have the effect of advancing, endorsing, and inhibiting religion. It's inhibiting our religion. And number three, not foster excessive entanglement with religion. Oh, it's entangled. If government action fails one prong of the Lemon Test, it violates the Establishment Clause and is unconstitutional. Yay! Non-secular sham. Definition, non-secular sham. This is what a bill looks like and sounds like. Except it's a lot more boring than me. Non-secular sham means a policy, a course, or principle of action adopted or proposed by a state actor which endorses, respects, and favors the beliefs of a particular religion where the preeminent and primary force driving the state's action is not genuine, but it's a sham and ultimately has a primary religious objective. The term refers to a type of policy that is predicated on a series of unproven faith-based assumptions and naked assertions that are implicitly religious while masquerading as natural, neutral, and non-controversial. When the claims are questionably moral, real, and plausible under the reasonable observer's perspective. Reasonable observer's perspective. Yep, that's a sham. Next definition, sex education program. Sex education program means a controversial assembly. Controversial, I just thought we went over this word. We can't endorse stuff that's controversial. Controversial assembly or event held at a public school. A public school, taxpayer money. At a public school at the taxpayer's expense that is calculated to proselytize and indoctrination minors with the government's symbolic direct stamp of approval regarding issues relating to human sexuality, morality, same-sex sexual contact, sexual orientation mythology, including emotional relations and responsibilities, emotional relations. They're going to tell you your child how to navigate relationships. Human sexual anatomy. You're going to have your teachers tell your kids. Okay, this is okay. Sexual activities, sexual reproduction and age of consent, reproduction health, and doctrine of reproductive rights, and the dogma of safe sex. The dogma of safe sex. That's funny. The term refers to the event at public schools that are non-secular, offer a faith-based opinions on sexual morality that flow directly out of moral relativism, amounting to a commentary on absolute truth and a critic of doctrines that advance absolute truth. The term refers to a taxpayer-funded event. On sex, marriage, and morality at public schools that targets children with a series of unproven faith-based assumptions and naked assertions that are implicitly religious and separately linked to the religion of secular humanism. Oh boy. Next definition, secular policy. Actually, this is really important. You might want to pay attention. Secular policy means a course of principle of action adopted or proposed by a state actor that is natural, neutral, and non-controversial, that is based on self-evident morality and the objective truth from the reasonable observer's perspective. The term includes a procedure that is generally accomplishes its goal and does not tend to put religion over non-religion or one religion over another. The term includes a course of government action where the preeminent and primary force driving the policy is genuine. It's not a sham, and it's not merely secondary to a religious objective. The term includes policies that are very often founded in self-evident, non-controversial, natural, neutral morality that accords with the givenness of our nature and the truth about the way things are and the way things should be as humans from reasonable observers' perspective. So secular policy. This is secular. This water bottle is natural. Well, it's kind of natural. It's neutral. It leads to human flourishing. Like, nobody's fighting over a water bottle. Nobody's fighting over salt. Like, the pen, non-controversial. Yeah. This pen is not this pen is plastic. Okay. Natural, neutral, like, non-controversial. So let's talk about, secular policies. Yeah, we haven't been endorsing, enforcing, and funding secular policies. Let's go back to those. Secular marriage. Ooh, are we going to go there? See, we have so many states that are like, I'm so reactive. I'm so scared of marriage. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to do away with marriage. We had 5 or 6 red states filing to do away with marriage and get out of the marriage business. No, marriage is natural, neutral, and it leads to human flourishing. Marriage is secular, and therefore we should protect that, not be reactive, but proactive and elevate marriage. Secular marriage means a legal union that represents an intended lifelong commitment between one person who is born male and one person who is born female as husband and wife, who are equal but opposite genders, who become spouses of the opposite sex and who have a course corresponding sexual anatomy that if coalesced has the actual or symbolic potential to create offspring whom will likely have input in their spouse, create an offspring whom will likely have the input of the spouses with whom they share the same genetic code and unbroken ancestral chain. It's secular marriage is actual marriage. Okay, let's give an example. See, this is the cap that was meant to go with this bottle. It accomplishes the purpose that it was intended for. In fact, it's so unique that I can drink water from it. But let's take off this cap and let's put on my cell phone cap. Okay, see, this is, I can ram this. This is secular humanism. They're ramming this down our throats, going, you're going to fund this, you're going to pay for this, this is natural, this is neutral, this is non-controversial. No, no. See, this can cover this for a second, maybe in my car as I travel all over the United States. This ain't going to last very long because it's not natural, it's not neutral, and it doesn't lead to human flourishing. This is not the part they intended, so this is secular. This is natural, it's neutral, non-controversial, and it accomplishes its intended purpose. So stop taking in on this indoctrination. If it's looked like this is unconstitutional, it's because it absolutely is. Nobody expects you to study law. Abstinence, definition, abstinence means an action to refrain from sexual practices until the person becomes legally married, chastity. Abstinence program, next definition, abstinence program is an assembly held at a public school that is taxpayer funded where the unproven claim that healthy sex is all about context, that sex is best preserved between man and a woman. Did you know it's preserved? Like, this is preserved. Oh, you should trust me this. I don't let this get lost. I don't let the top get lost. I preserve this because it accomplishes the goal of making sure I'm hydrated. Oh, okay, funded. Okay, we're back to the abstinence program. The term refers to promoting the virtues, honorability, and merits of resolving to wait until a person is legally married to engage in sexual practices with their spouse of the opposite sex. Community standards of decency. Definition, community standards of decency. Whether to the average person applying the contemporary community standards and dominant theme of the material taken as a whole appeals to prurient interest. As in, like, everybody, standards of decency. I'm sitting and watching on the people drive on the road, and standards of decency, the cars just keep on moving. You're messing with community standards of decency when you park your car in the middle of the road. So community standards of decency. We have set community standards of decency. Next definition, non-secular marriage means any form of alleged marriage that does not involve a man and a woman. The term non-secular marriage refers to a variety of so-called marriages that do not involve a man and woman that amount to doctrines that are inseparably linked to the religion of secular humanism. Non-secular marriage is parity marriage. Next. Then the next section goes into a million legislative findings. Legislative findings. So when we draft legislation and we go to the legislative services with a bill idea, see my 5-minute video on how a bill becomes law, is that there has to be tons and tons and tons of litigation, which makes legislation. And so this goes, okay, that's the whole blah, 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 blah. And then, so after the definitions, the legislative findings, the short title, permitting children to participate in sex education or instruction, compliance with the state law and the First Amendment Establishment Clause of the United States Constitution. Number 1, in view of the First Amendment Establishment Clause of the United States Constitution of the state of West Virginia, any parent or legal guardian who wishes to have his child participate in the planned instruction of sex education in the public school and any instruction or presentation regarding the sexuality shall opt in by filing written permission. And so this part is where this is an opt-in. and your state's going to tailor this to you guys. In view of the number 2, in the view of the state's narrowly tailored, rational, compelling interest to uphold community standards of decency, and because the religious truth claims asserted at the sex educational program tend to erode community standards of decency, desensitize, and endorse convenience abortion ideology, normalizing false permission-giving beliefs about sex, and proliferate promiscuity and sexual exploitation, the Board of Trustees shall include on the forms of ideology being advanced does not necessarily reflect the beliefs and the values of the school or the state. Number 3, sex education programs shall be consistent and systematic in grades 7 through 12. So your state's going to choose if at all any sex education takes place. So just with the definitions, the first part, and the legislative findings, the second part, your states can play with this however they want. I want you guys to know that this bill, if you email me, Jessica Berry-Joy, this is my story.solutions, I will send this to you. I will send talking points to you. I will send little YouTube videos of my findings, and so that you can have this and start circulating this amongst your friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. And that is the sex educational bill.